Good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to you on Parentune Live. I hope you and your family are doing well. My name is Jharna Kukreja, and I'm your host for today. Today, we're joined by Parentune expert Kiran Tevtiya, who will be answering all your questions on how to inculcate discipline in your child. Kiran, to start off with, I wanted you to address the perspective of discipline being misunderstood, often as a form of control or punitive action. Can discipline actually be positive, or does it necessarily equate to punishment?
Very true, Jana. In fact, the moment we say discipline, the image that comes into our mind is maybe a general in the army or the jailer in the Sholay movie who is trying to put everybody in line. So sometimes as a parent, we also think that that's probably the role that we should be playing, that whatever we feel is the basic need of the child, is good for the child, or that makes us look nice in the society, the child must listen to us and should follow it. So on the contrary, just to set the tone of the program for today, I would like all the parents to think that the role of a parent is like a nurturer or like a farmer or like a facilitator. So that is where we will start the discipline definitions from. Yeah.
Right, Kiran. If you've just joined this Parentune Live, we are with child psychologist Kiran Tevtiya, who is answering all your queries on how to inculcate discipline in your child. Kiran is a Mumbai based child psychologist who specializes in child behavior and development. She is well known for supporting parents in addressing emotional and behavioral challenges in their children. Kiran, when it comes to the importance of communication in disciplining your child, what would you recommend a parent do when trying to communicate or pass on in some kind of instruction to their child?
Right. It's really nice, Jana, that the question is very specific and it is helpful to the parents as well. Now, the ideal way, whether it is a 3-year-old child, whether it is a 6-year-old child, whether it is a 10-year-old child, our age group out here is 3 to 7 in any case. The first thing is that we have to get the attention of the child. So if the child is doing something and we are standing at the door or we are just passing by or we are in another room and we just shout out the instructions. So that's a very poor way to expect that the child is bound to pay heed to it. So a lot of time they are genuinely so immersed in what they are doing, and transition, of course, being so difficult for a child, we have to first get the attention of the child. Now, what it entails is we are in the eyesight of the child. Based on the age of the child, we are close to the child. We take the name of the child and we wait for some kind of acknowledgement. So once we get some kind of acknowledgement, then we give an instruction. For instance, if the child is playing with the toys, a 4-year-old child, and we want that it's a lunchtime. So we go close to the child. If we can join the game for a minute or two and comment on what the child is doing, that's really nice. Because what happens is, before you want to pull the child into a different set of activity, you are joining the child into their own activity, right? That establishes the connect. You are no longer an outsider, so you are connected to the child. And then if you say, you know what, it's a lunchtime now, so you want to wrap up the toys or you want to keep them and come for lunch, right? So whatever options that you give to the child, those options should be in line with trusting the child that the child is going to follow the instruction. If you compare it with the other way of giving instruction, that is, you say, okay, the lunch is ready, are you ready? Right? So what we are conveying out here is that, okay, no mama, I'm not ready, yes mama, I'm ready. Okay, so the question have to be, or the options have to be in line with your trust and confidence that yes, my child will be able to follow. So that's the effective communication. That is, join the child, for a few, minutes. Even if your a little older child is immersed in video games or something, join the child for a minute or two. Secondly, take a name of the child, maybe some kind of physical contact, and guide the child that, you know what, I can see how interesting it is, but now it's a lunchtime, so we got to have a lunch. And thirdly, give options to the child. Right? So that's an effective communication. Yeah, Jharna.
Some excellent tips there from Kiran on how to effectively communicate to your children when you're trying to pass on any instruction to them, join them, connect with them. Kiran, we've often heard of this concept of being an active listener. So, how does this help in communicating with your child? And if you could give us some example of what it means to be an active listener, how can I, as a parent, be an active listener to my child?
Okay. Now, listening, of course, active listening is an amazing buzzword. Now, a lot of times we focus more on the words that the child is speaking. For example, if we tell the child that, okay, it's a lunchtime, and before you're even finished with the sentence, the child is going to say no. Right? So, active listening is going beyond the words that the child is saying. A child's no as compared to an adult's no, we got to take it a little differently. We can't say, my child actually doesn't want to eat the food, that's why he or she is saying no. It's more important to active listening, more important to see the body language of the child, more important to go beyond the feelings or the intentions that the child is trying to convey, and then build upon from that. For example, yeah, I can understand. So if the child says no, you can say, I can understand that you really want to enjoy the game and you want to play for some more time, but you know what, it's our family time to have lunch, so if you wish, you can take some more time after the food. So you are actively listening to the cues that the child is saying or conveying through the body language, through the intentions, through the words. It's a collection of all the three. So don't just pull jump to conclusion that my child doesn't want to do it. Sometimes the child may also say, I hate you that you are making me do this, right? So don't go by verbatim what the child is saying. Go beyond that. Yes, I can understand that you do not like putting your plates in the wash basin, but you know what? We all need to do our chores. So yeah, that's an active listening, where you're listening, going beyond, you're giving words to what the child wants to convey. And you will notice that the moment you say, yeah, I can understand, you do not like putting your plates in the wash basin, and you will notice that the child will have twinkle in his eyes, and he'll say, yeah, my mother understands me. So yeah.
Right, Kiran. Kiran, our first question comes in from Mumbai, from Neha, who has a 7-year-old child. Neha says, my son is 7 years old. I've been trying to schedule his study time and other activities, but due to a number of reasons, it only works out for 3 to 4 days. How can I make him follow a timetable and also help him develop habits to follow that?
Right. So Neha, a few things that we have to understand is that with younger children, 7 years old is a young age. And younger children definitely need hand holding by the parents. They are easily distractible, right? And of course, for them, the time is more fluid than what it would be for a 12-year-old child. So if you say, okay, if the child says, okay, I'm going to play for 5 more minutes, the child doesn't really mean 5 more minutes. He just means, okay, you just go away and, let me play. So repetition is important, and some kind of logical or natural consequences. For example, if the child says, I don't want to attend my classes today, online classes today. We'll stick to that because that's a mode of academics at this point of time. So I don't want to attend my classes today. So giving some options to the child that, all right, so, but you know what, you have your school going on right now. So in case if you wish, you can do your own self-study, right? And then you leave it at that. A lot of time it is also important, Neha, that we let the child take some decisions, right? That now the decision could be good, bad, ugly. Okay, this is a stage. 7 years is a stage where the child is slowly going towards 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, finally 18, right? So it's a stage towards independence. Okay, so we have to give a platform where the stakes are not so high. We have to give a platform where the child is able to take some decisions with some small little logical consequences. So, yeah, so maybe, Jarna, is it a good time to maybe talk about the consequences, or maybe I will leave it to the subsequent questions which you may have down the line?
Yeah, you can, of course, answer Neha's query, of course, related to that. But I think Neha's challenge, Kiran, if I'm not mistaken, is something that a lot of parents are facing, especially during this pandemic, where, everyone's routine has gone for a toss. And it's so difficult to and challenging for, I guess, both children and parents to establish that routine. So, any advice for other parents as well on how to help children develop a routine and stick to that routine during this pandemic, where all aspects of their life, be it their school, their education, their physical activity and extracurricular activities, and their home time has all kind of mingled into one area. So, in such a scenario where kids can literally, just get up out of bed and sit in front of the laptop and school has started, how do you help them develop a routine where each thing has a designated time attached to it?
Right. Now, Jharna, out here, there are some basic things. Firstly, we got to understand what are the things which are in our hands here, and what are the things which we have to leave in the hands of the child. Now, for instance, if we know that the child has to get up at 9 o'clock, has to attend the online classes at 9 o'clock, okay, and if we are shifting our energies towards ensuring at 8:50 or at 8:45 at the last moment to wake up the child and plop the child in front of the screen. So if you are spending our energies there, my suggestion is you got to spend your energies more towards the evening side to ensure that your child is sleeping 9 hours before 8 o'clock. We are talking about 3 to 7 age, right? So at least 9 hours. So if we say that 9 o'clock the child has to attend the classes, if we put the cutoff as 8, the child should have gone to sleep by 11, right? 10:45, 11. So that is where you definitely have a say that, you know what, guys, the lights will be turning off in the next 10 minutes. So the lights turn off at 10:45, child will take about 15 to some children actually take 45 minutes to go to sleep. They are relaxed and they are talking, they are singing songs. So they are just kind of de-stressing and relaxing their mind, because even to sleep is also how to rest your mind is also another thing. So I would suggest please spend your energies towards the other end of out here. That is, the day doesn't start from 9 in the morning. The day starts when you went to sleep. So that is one thing. Now, another thing is, if you're talking about 3 to 5 years, that's unfortunately, right, it's the screen which is the medium of education right now. That's a very young age. So, of course, a few things which you can do, that is have a wider screen for the child to develop that stickiness, or co-watch, attend with the child. You can do all those things. But having said it all, if your child simply doesn't want to sit in front of the screen, feel happy that your child doesn't want to be glued to the screen. And you can actually introduce the same things you can spread it around throughout the day. So if it is about learning 1 to 10, if it is about learning some kind of addition or 1+1, you can kind of spread the day in such a manner that a little bit times 15 minutes or something, you are sitting with the child for that, to cover up that. So that is my suggestion to you, that please do not just think that 3 to 5 or even 5 to 7, the mode has to be your aim is that you have to make the child sit. You can make the child sit in front of the screen. You can't make the child grasp. They are two different things. And the problem is that in the school setup, when the child is physically in the school, we have to understand that there are many strategies which the teachers have right? Whether to go close to the child, whether to ask the child to come to the blackboard, whether to even tell the child, okay, you look a little under the weather, go wash your face, and the child is bound to listen to the teachers, even if the child doesn't listen to you. So you have to kind of mix the two. So if the child doesn't want to do it, fair enough. That's one thing. Other thing is that even if the child doesn't want to follow the general routine, high level routine that you have created, firstly, please do not have a very back to back strict routine. That is 9 to 12, you have to do this, 12 to 2, you have to do this. Have some kind of free time for the child where the child doesn't have anything which is planned. The child just have to figure out from his own mind that what is it that I should be doing. And when I say free time, Jharna, what I mean to say is it is also free time from devices. That is, it is not a time which is going funneling inside or sponging out into the devices. It is a free time from everything where the child wishes to just lie down, great, wants to play some drums, wants to take out some things, do some water play. The child has to figure it out. And that downtime is also the time when the child has to assimilate all the knowledge that the child has gained from different sources. They make interconnection when they are having free time, right? So let the child have some free time also beyond the devices, and have some routine, which is where like for example, after lunchtime the child is having privileges like entertainment activities. And you can also attach it like, you know what, whatever is your homework given, okay, you got to finish it by so and so time, and then you can have your entertainment. So you can have this kind of routine. Now just think about it, Jharna. Even if the child says, we are talking about 3 to 7, even if the child says that, all right, I don't want to finish my homework today, okay, now just think what else is the child doing at the time. If the child is not doing homework, the child could be going outdoors, the child could be connecting with the friends, right? The child could be connecting with the family members, because you said there are no device based entertainment at the time, so the child is still learning. So please be a little flexible. These are the logical consequences, and let the child face it. If the child has enough frustration tolerance, let the child face it, that all right, fine, you could not have any entertainment today, but you could do great things. You could make a boat out of paper today, right? So have that kind of routine. So that will be nice. Have some flexibility. Kids are not robots.
Right. Kiran, I think a flexible routine is what, as you said, a parent should aim for, as opposed to a rigid routine, especially during this pandemic. Kiran, our next question comes in from Swati. Swati has a 7-year-old child again, and Swati says, my son has recently turned 7 years old, and of late he's become very stubborn. He continues to sit in one place for hours and does not finish his food or take a bath or study on time. He just continues to be on his phone and plays games. Nothing seems to work on him. Please help me.
Right. So I think Jharna, it is important that both for Neha as well as Swati, if we start talking about what are those logical and normal natural consequences. Now we're going to understand a few things here. If we have to think about the sphere of consequences, the first sphere is the basic, what the child needs: safety, love of the parent, eating, and sleeping. These are the 4 basic needs of the child. And no matter what are the consequences, we cannot give the consequences which touch upon these 4 things. We cannot have a situation, Swati, where we say that you did not finish your homework today, you did not attend your school today, so you cannot, you will eat only after you finish your food, or you will sleep only after you have finished your homework, or you will get my hug only if you finish this work. Children ideally need not work so hard to earn the love of the parent. In fact, children who feel safe, who feel loved despite not being able to behave exactly how the parent wants them to behave, you will notice that their level of obedience, if we have to speak, is definitely bound to increase because they're going to feel safe, right? So these are the four things: safety, love, eating, and sleeping. Then after that, so it is granted that you have to provide these things immaterial of whether the child has followed the routine or has followed the academic goals or not. Safety, when I say we cannot have consequences like, okay, I'm going to shut you in the bathroom or you have to stay outside the door, right? So these are the 3 to 7, definitely we cannot do it. In safety also includes corporal, any kind of yelling, shaming, hitting. It's not going to help at all, right? It's a very, very wrong kind of modeling. Now coming to other one, which is what the child needs developmentally as well, that is outdoors and reading. Non-academic reading is included, Geronimo Stilton, Wimpy Kid, whatever the child wants to put in. So these two things. So if your child is not doing what you want the child to do, that is maybe do the household chores, maybe not hit the child name called you, whatever are the definition, or did not finish the homework, did not get good grades, submitted a assignment paper blank, all these things happen in the practical life. Still, ideally, if the child just wants to lie down, opposing what you said, but it has taken up a book, comic to read it, or has its time like 5 to 7 in the evening to go outdoors, you have to let the child do that. They need that exercise, right? They need that interpersonal skills that the children learn when they are going outdoors. So these are the two things. Another which you cannot touch upon when you're giving consequences. See, Swati, why I'm saying that is because somewhere we got to understand what you have to leave in the child's hands. When as a parent we start getting into those basic things, a lot of conflicts start coming in because it touches the core. Now, what is in the hands of the parents are all the other things apart from the things that I talked about. That is all the privileges, gifts, eating out, junk food, ordering from outside, screen time for entertainment. You have to truly believe, right, especially in the age of 3 to 7 years, that if the child wants to have a screen-based entertainment, the child has to take your permission. You have to truly believe that your child needs to do that. If your child is not listening to you for that, then you may have to go to the extent of saying what is in your hands. That is, look, dear, looks like that this has become a weakness for us. So you know what I'm going to do? What is in your hands? I'm going to cut off the Netflix connection, and you truly go ahead and cut it off for 7 days. You tell him, I'm going to cut it off for 7 days because looks like that it's making us feel weak. Trust me, your child is going to buy in because it's not going to affect his core, what he or she needs, right? So we got to understand what are the things that the child basically needs and what are the things which as a parent you have. So plan the day, right? Plan the routine in such a manner that there is a mix and match of these things. And your child is going to keep getting that motivation from small little things. So build the motivations, positive motivations like that. Yeah, Jharna.
I hope that helps you, Swati, in dealing with your child. Our next question comes in from Seema, who is a mother to 2 children. One is a 13-year-old, so a teenager, and her other child is 8 years old. Seema says, I'm a mother of 2 kids. The elder one is 13, the younger one is 8. They are both good but not disciplined. I have made timetables many times, but the same is not followed even for their studies, for watching TV or waking up in the morning. I'm a working woman and it's not possible for me to keep watching them or reminding them. Please help me to make them disciplined.
Right. Seema, first thing is for the child who is 13 and for the child who is 8, you can have completely different kind of set of rules for them. without even having comparisons where the younger one says, you know what, the older one is getting it. A lot of times sibling is one thing which definitely becomes a problem, that okay, the older one did not come for lunch, so the younger one is also not coming, or vice versa, right? So important is that you are independently talking to them instead of grouping them, that you know what, you guys are not doing it. So break that out and individually talk to them. In the morning, set the expectation, or maybe a day before when you are going to sleep, you can kind of have a reflection at the time of dinner, that okay, what was the great things which we achieved today, and what are the things that we still need to achieve. And set your expectation that, you know what, before so and so time, I'm expecting that you are able to finish that, and get that their buy-in as well, that okay, what do you think about it, or what do you think about it, right? So if suppose the term 2 of one of the children is going to finish, and you say, you know what, your 4 chapters are left, so I'm expecting that you're able to finish 1 chapter tomorrow before lunch, what do you think? Get their buy-in, see what it says. If the moment the child commits that okay, I can do it, which they are very good at, because as long as they have to do something in future, it's all yes, right? The challenge comes when it's an execution. But we have to understand here, Seema, that if the execution would have been so easy, a lot of we, the adults, right, would not have been having such a big problem in executing what is good for us as well, right? We all know exercise is good for us. We all know mask is good for us. We all know eating healthy food is good for us, but we break the rules all the times. Or helmet is good for us, for that matter, right? So we have to kind of give a little leeways to these children who, in any case, are building on their self-control. For your older child, Seema, I would say that you will have to do a little lesser micromanagement. Your younger child definitely needs more. For older child, you will have to leave a little bit to the natural things. For example, if your older child is submitting assignments, or is getting from the teacher that okay, he did not submit it, right, it has been a delayed thing, so you just let your child be between your child and the teacher. Because 13 years old, ideally the child has to start learning to take their own rein. The more you're going to push it, you'll be able to push the child till 14, 15, 16. It's going to be very difficult beyond that. So it's easier now when the stakes are a little lesser, when the child learns from a little bit of falls. Maybe the child doesn't get very good grades in term 2 and realizes it and goes on term 3 and is able to better the things. So you'll have to leave with a little pains. Of course, as a parent, you can always set your expectation that, you know what, I think you should figure it out why in science you got 60%. You got to figure it out. If you need my help, let me know, right? So just figure it out which questions were there, figure it out where you can do. But don't be so, at 13 years old, he has to move towards taking his own decisions and paying little prices for that. Yeah, thank you.
Right. I think, Seema, you've heard from Kiran on how you can help your elder one in particular to accept some of those logical and natural consequences that will come in place when he doesn't follow his timetable as expected. Kiran, our next question comes in from Bandana Nath, who is the parent to a 10-year-old daughter. Bandana says, my 10-year-old daughter sometimes is not able to follow 3 instructions at a time. It could be related to her studies or some small chores at home. Could you please suggest some tips for Bandana?
Jharna, I'm so sorry, but I missed out. Her daughter is 8 years old, you said?
Her daughter is 10 years old.
10. All right. Okay. That's a very interesting thing that we exactly know that it's a three instructions that your daughter is not able to follow. I think you already have a solution here. Then start giving 2 instructions at a time. And then you can tell her that once you're done with these 2 instructions, come back to me. I have 1 more instruction for you. There's another thing here, practical thing. maybe you can ask her, that's about enabling the child or empowering the child, that maybe you can ask her that, what I have observed, that when I see, don't keep it as your problem, right? At the end of the day, the stakes have to be higher for your child to listen to you than for you to ensure that she hears you. The stakes have to be higher for her, right? So what that means is that you actually tell what is your problem. She's 10 years old, she'll be able to understand. So if you tell, what, dear, I have noticed that I told you these three things, and I noticed that you did two things, and then this last thing, you just left it. So is there any particular reason you just left it? Sometimes you may notice, because 10 years old, it is quite possible that she may actually start taking her own due diligence also, and she may actually have some logical reason that why she did not do that. At least give her an opportunity before jumping to conclusion. Give her an opportunity to put her point of view, right? Why do you think it did not happen? So if she said, okay, mama, actually, if she's dismissive, that mama, I just forgot about it, or I missed that point. Okay, so the beauty is that the next time you can try two things. You can actually tell her that, okay, so you know what I'm going to do next time? When I'm giving you instructions, I will ask you to paraphrase. Okay, so what that means is that when you're giving her, all right, so you know what, you can make her feel conscious when you're giving instructions that, you know what, I'm going to give you 3 instructions now. Tak, tak, tak. Now, can you please tell me what are those 3 instructions? So she's going to kind of connect to the last conversations that she had, right? It's just that how she's able to have it deeper when a child, in any case, that's also one of the learning modes also. When the child is learning academics also, when the child paraphrases it, they are making their own definitions for the information to linger in their memory for longer. It's like going from short-term to long-term memory, right? So if you can ask her that, okay, what are those 3 instructions? Please tell me. Great. She will paraphrase, and then she will, if she follows, great. Even then, she has a right not to follow. Again, I said execution. Please go a little more easy on the children. It is a process, right? And we take a really long time to perfect it. Many of us do not perfect it all throughout our life also. Okay, so and next time, suppose she did not even do that, you can again ask her, okay, you know what about the third thing? Maybe she will run and do it again, because you're making her feel conscious. The third time, you can actually go further. What's the further? You say, all right, I want to give you instructions, but I'm not sure if you would retain it. So please get a pen and paper. You are enabling her, right? You're empowering her, and you're making your job easy. If she doesn't get it, all right, so I'm sorry. So it will be difficult for me to cooperate with you. So when you're ready to get a paper and pen, tell me. And you do your work, right? Somewhere you have to keep the stakes higher for the child than you. Okay, and remember those privileges. Those privileges needs to be earned. All right, thank you. I hope it helps.
I hope that helps, Bandana. Empower, enable, and set your expectations that are acceptable for your child as well. Our next question comes in from Sejal Khanna, who has 2 children again. Sejal says, since the lockdown has begun, our entire schedule for our children has gone haywire. My 13-year-old is just not sleeping or waking up on time and does whatever she wishes to. Imitating her, my younger one, who is 7 years old, refuses to follow any rules. What can be done so that everything falls back on track once again? I guess this comes back to our routine during the pandemic situation.
Right. Yeah, that's how beautifully siblings are, right? So, and why only siblings, Jharna? Even just imagine, suppose we are working in the corporate and our colleague got higher appraisal. I think we all go to our bosses and say, you know what, he got or she got 30% and I got 25. So why and I worked harder. So we all kind of take advantage of that, isn't it? So that's one. Now, let's break it into 2, right? The 7 years old and the 13-year-old. So when we're talking about the 7 years old, again, as a parent, feel confident that you can always have different rules for different children, right? Why different children? Even for different family members. If your child says that, oh, you are sitting on mobile for the last 20 minutes and you give it to me only for 15 minutes, right? So that statement cannot make you feel guilty. At max, it can actually make you enlighten the child by saying that, you know what, this is what I have been doing for the last 20 minutes and that's what I need the mobile for. And of course, at your age, these are what are your priorities. Of course, when you become, what's your age, right? When the child says, okay, 7 years old, and what do you think is my age? And that, when you ask questions to the child, it kinds of trigger and they are acceptable about it. So fine, when you are 39, 38, 40, 45, and you are that age, you can go ahead and do that, right? So there are always age wise. So to your 7 years old, you can always kind of say, all right, great, you want to do what your sister is or your brother is doing, but you know what, you got to sleep because you need your nice 10 hours or 9 hours beauty sleep. So we are going to go to the room, yay, and you just help her to go to the room. That's about it. Yeah. So no long lectures, no going to the older child saying, because of you, she's not doing it. No, there is no displacement happening. Your focus is on your 7-year-old child. Okay. So once you're dealt with your 7 years old child, that's, Jhana, sometimes happens, with the older and younger siblings where you kind of enforce the rules on your older siblings because you want your younger, child, I mean to say, you enforce the rules on your older child because you want the younger child to follow the same. You have to keep them two separately, right? Now, coming back to your 13-year-old child, that's what actually is happening, unfortunately, during the lockdown. A lot of teenagers, right, are actually having night outs, right? They're sleeping like at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, either watching movies together with their friends, playing some kind of video games, or just saying that, don't worry about me, I'll manage. Even if I sleep at 2 o'clock, I'll get up at 8, I'll attend my classes, I'll again go to sleep at 12 o'clock. So it's okay, I'll manage my 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep that you want me to, do. So they're very good at, because of course, logically, they are building their logic sense, right? But however, routine is important for them also. In fact, it is more important for them because when the child is going towards puberty, the body needs rest. Right. So you would still have to, maybe you can have a little different timings for your 7-year-old and 13-year-old, and that can also help you, right? Because when you are with your 7-year-old lying down, maybe for those 15, 20 minutes, you're kind of having some rumbling, tumbling, you're reading. So you get your one-to-one time with each child. When you have more than one child, it is very important that you are having one-to-one child at least once in a day. So maybe that can be this sleep time when you, in any case, know that your child needs help. So you can have your one-to-one time with your 7-year-old, and then you move on to your 13, that, you know what, your time is up. So what is it that you're doing right now? Okay. And then you say, okay, you know what, I'm submitting my assignments right now. Okay. And you can have some cutoff for the friends. It's important. Whatever are the rules for the real life, that is, the friends don't come home after 10 or 11 or whatever is your rule, 9, 8, feel free to do that. Children, teenagers especially, are very good at saying, oh, but everyone is doing it. All my friends' parents allow it. Right? So, okay, great, everyone is doing it, but you know what? You belong to the Sharma family, and this is what our rules are. Our rules are designed to take care of our health. So you can kind of have different rules for your own family. Yeah. Thank you. I hope it helps.
Right, Kiran. Our next question comes in from Aishwarya, who is the parent of a toddler. Aishwarya says, what's the correct age from when we can discipline our children? My daughter is 21 months old, and these days she's hitting and even spitting on other kids and adults. I have asked her many times not to do this, and it's not a good habit. Yet she doesn't register what I'm saying. I don't want to scold her or yell to explain these things. How do I discipline her or tell her to stop these things? So, Kiran, can positive discipline and communication uh, be established at such a young age to a toddler as well?
Okay, very interesting question. 21 months, what a beautiful age it is. All right. If you ask, when the disciplining, probably I'll define it as redirecting a child towards what is good for the child and what is the kind of behavior, right, that you really want, what is the kind of decisions that you really want your child to take in his or her life. So, if you ask me what is the age, it can be as young as 4 or 5 months old, right? So, when the first time the child is biting, right, when the child is taking the milk, it is advised no communication, no long lectures. What is advised is you immediately take the child away from when you are, giving milk to the child, and you just say, "Oh no." Right. The child is suddenly going to kind of say, "Oh, something happened when I did this action," and that whatever something happened, I'm not liking it, just for a few seconds. And then you again give the child, you again show the trust to the child that yes, I have trust that you will learn. You again offer milk to the child, right? So within, you will notice within 2 3 times of experimenting, the child is, of course, repetition is important for younger children. They are at least bound to repeat it 2 to 3 4 times, right? So every time you do the same thing, no, right, the child is bound to learn that something bad happens or something uncomfortable happens. Small pain, right, happens when this happens. Again, pain is not unnatural. You're not pinching your child. Only thing which you're saying is, guy, if you do this action, I'm going to stop giving you milk for a few seconds. That's all. So coming back to your 21-month-old child, your child is doing actions, hitting, splitting, spitting and all. First thing is, because what happens, Aishwarya, is that sometimes some of the actions, because they're so cute, right, bundle of joy, so they look very endearing. Okay, so if the child is like lying and is having the legs and moving the legs in a manner that it is coming on your face or something, and the child is reaching out for your glasses, taking it away, they look very endearing. So we kind of laugh, or even if the person who is getting it doesn't laugh, the other person is laughing, right? First thing is, children are bound to repeat things where they get reaction, especially young children. I'm talking about children below 3 years of age. They're bound to repeat things where they get some kind of reaction. Now, reaction can be either ways. Reaction can be happiness. Reaction can be too loud, right? So you may notice that sometimes children are interacting more with a child who is bully, who is a little stronger, and the child is going more towards it, even though you know that, why my child is not understanding that, stop talking to the child, right? So whatever reactions that the child gets, they are bound to repeat it. So first thing is, please do not give any reaction. Like, oh, you did this. Be calm, right? And do whatever is the natural thing. What is the natural thing, right? So if it is like the child has Jharna, the spitting is what Aishwarya said.
Yeah, that's right.
Great. So if the child has, see, for children, for vomiting, pee, poop, spitting, young children, right? Just imagine, for them it's magical. They could make something come out of their body. They could create. So they don't have such a big sense of revulsion, which we have, right? So you may notice that even if a child has vomited, he'll be very fine with it. And we may say, oh my God, right? So for a child, it is not such a big action, but yes, you do not want to inculcate, so please do not laugh at it. Please do not say, give long yarn that this is bad manners. It's very abstract for a 21-month-old child. These are good manners and bad manners. Oh, you are a bad girl or a good boy, like that, right? Only thing is, what is natural here? That when the child is spitted, you just say, oh no, we don't spit. And then you just, maybe you say, okay, so I'm going to put you like this. So you turn the child in a manner that the spit doesn't come on you. All right. So you have to, the child will notice that, okay, something happened where now, or you say, you know what, or you redirect that, you know what, we don't spit on others. But if you want to spit, you know where we spit, and you nicely take your child to the bathroom and you say, you take to the wash basin and you say, you know, this is where we spit. You can try spitting it out here, put the child on a nice stool, and you leave the child with the open door. That you can spit as long as you want to spit, and once you're done with it, please come back. But you know what? We don't spit on others. So what was beautiful about this Jhanna is that we didn't just say no. We said
Right.
no, we said why no, and we did a redirection towards where it can be a yes. For young children, try to look where it can be a yes. Yeah, thank you.
I think giving an alternative would help when it comes to
Yes,
communicating with young children.
yes,
Right.
yes.
As a parent myself, I know the feeling of frustration when my child doesn't do what I say or as I expect him to. When he doesn't follow the rules or disobeys, I wonder, is there something I can do to make sure that he toes the line? If you too have questions like me on how to inculcate discipline in your child, then you can post your question in the comments section and we will have our expert, child psychologist Kiran Tevtiya, answer them in just a short while. Kiran, our next question comes in from Sarvani, who is a parent to a 5-year-old child. Sarvani says, my child is 5 years old and he doesn't follow instructions, even after telling him a number of times for basic activities like going to sleep, taking a bath, eating his food, etc., unless someone yells at him. So, Kiran, what do you have to say to Sarvani? Can you hear me, Kiran? Hi, Kiran, can you hear me? Right. We are in conversation with child psychologist and child behavior specialist Kiran Tevtiya. She is answering all your queries on how to inculcate discipline in your child, especially during this pandemic when routines have gone up in the air and lots of parents are struggling with on how to communicate effectively with their child and how to get them to follow timetables and how to get them to do their studies, sleep on time, attend classes on time, eat on time, take a bath on time. And so we just have a question in from Sarvani, who is the parent to a 5-year-old child. And she says her 5-year-old child is finding it difficult to follow instructions with respect to basic activities like eating, bathing, sleeping, etc. So, Kiran, can you hear me, Kiran?
Yes, I can hear you, Jhanna, now. Yeah.
Right. Would you like to answer Sarvani's question?
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong, that it's a 5-year-old child and he's finding difficult in following routine of sleeping, eating and all.
Yes, sleeping, eating, taking a bath, any basic instructions, unless she says, the parent says, unless he is shouted at, and only then does he follow the instructions. Right. We are in conversation with child psychologist Kiran Tevtiya. She's answering all your queries on how to discipline your child and how to inculcate discipline in your child so they can establish self control and how they can develop self control and follow instructions without having to be shouted at. Kiran, can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm sorry, my
Yeah.
internet is not going very good right now.
No
Yeah.
problem. You can go ahead and answer
So
Sandy's
can I,
question. Yes.
right. 5-year-old child, I think before I go on how we should take care of, the basic, this is the basic things that you expect from a child, right? That the child is able to eat, the child is able to sleep, and the child is able to follow basic hygiene things, brushing teeth, taking bath and all. But before that, I would like to, also be a little more observant in building connection, right, with the child, and having just see if where the disconnection is happening. uh, is the child because yelling and all are work with younger children for the shock effect of it, but they don't really, unfortunately they don't, or rather good thing is that they do not really work in long term. And of course the child is going to build resistance around that, and you will have to keep increasing your crescendo, and of course you are going to get you are going to feel more stressful as well. So just build, see if you need to increase your time with the child. If the child is able to get few things like outdoor times, exercise, and all, and see if your commitments, like for example, if the child is asking you for some attention, the child built some Legos or did some drawing and is calling out for your name or is coming there, and you say, yeah, I'm coming, yeah, I'm coming. Not that, I'm sure, a lot of us must be doing it, but I just want that if you are more conscious about it. So if we see that, uh, that let's build that time where the child is positively connected with you. And after that, for eating, I would say that offer for generally, that's my suggestion for a 5-year-old, that just offer to the child the food and try to have it as a meal time, family time. The chances increases that the child is going to lap it up. After you've offered, do not force the child to finish the whole thing. Let the child decide how much to eat. Okay. At max, what you can do is after 2 hours, you can again offer, or after 3 hours, you can again offer it. So, first, let the child build that, because learning to eat is also a milestone. Learning to enjoy is also a milestone. So be a little easier on that, and then don't be under the stress that, oh, my child did not have two chapatis today, had only one chapati. Maybe after 3 hours, the child would have milk and some snacks and would be able to, cover it up. So be more relaxed on it. As far as bath goes, you can always have cutoffs that, what, we got to have bath and then we do this, then we have this. So you can have some kind of cutoffs there to build motivation of the child. Yeah. Thank you.
I hope that helps you, Sarvani. Kiran, our next question comes in from Bhavna Agarwal, who is the parent to two children, a 6-year-old child and a 2-year-old toddler. Bhavna says, one of my children is 6 years old. He's very stubborn and doesn't do as we say. When it comes to wearing clothes or bathing or sharing toys with his younger sibling, he doesn't listen and starts crying immediately. His younger brother is 2 years old and he never shares any toy with him, and they both always fight. Please help me. Kiran, can you hear me? Hi, Kiran, can you hear me? So we're in conversation with child behavior specialist and psychologist Kiran Tevtiya.
Yeah, your voice is cracking, Jana.
Right, Kiran. Kiran, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Kiran, did you hear Bhavna's question? Who is the parent to two children, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and she's facing a challenge with respect to her elder child in particular, who doesn't listen to his parents and often cries when told to do something. And she's also struggling with the aspect of her elder child not sharing toys with her younger child, and both children always fighting.
All right. Bhavna, one thing is that your 6-year-old child did not subscribe, to be fair to the child, did not subscribe for a sheer attention. Okay. Sibling is a very good thing for a child, though the child will never agree with it in the younger age, because now it's about suddenly you got to share the parents' attention, you got to share the toys. The child is going to be all over the older child still is building the sense of ownership, right? So, a few things here. Firstly, see if you're already spending some one-to-one time with your 6-year-old also, right? Sometimes we get so overwhelmed with taking care of the younger one that the older child may actually be feeling, though the child cannot verbalize, may actually be feeling not being taken care of emotionally. Okay. The other thing is that ideally, okay, even the younger child may need to be sensitized if the child is reaching out to the drawing sheets of the older child or is reaching out to the toys of the older child. Maybe you can have something like, this is the sense of ownership first, that this belongs to child X, this belongs to child Y, and this is the common pool, right? You can actually tell your older one that, you know what, dear, the sense of fairness of the older one, that, you know what, dear, we really cannot buy all the new toys and have duplicates for each one, right? So I have a request, okay, that out of 20 toys that you have, can you take out 5 toys and put it in the common pool? Right. You can give this such kind of directions to the child. So of course it's going to be tough for the child, and you can give him 2 or 3 days for that. And the child is bound to kind of, because it's subtle thing, and you are leaving the decision to the child. You're not forcing, so it goes there. And when the younger child is touching upon the pile which belongs to the older one, you can actually kind of sensitize the younger one also, that, you know what, you have to take permission from the older one before using it. So have you checked with your older one? Right. So if you said this kind of thing, it's cohesive, and the older one doesn't feel so clingy and doesn't feel so insecure that if I go out to play and if I come back, I don't know what will happen to my toys. So the child feels more secure, and his chances or her chances of sharing is bound to increase. The safer the child feels, the connected the child feels, the chance of sharing increases. So, allow like that. Let it be two ways. Same goes for older also. If the older child, though the 2-year-old child will not have such a strong sense of ownership, but you can guide the older child that, you know what, this car, red car, it actually belongs to your younger one. So have you taken permission from him? Something like that, yeah.
Right, Kiran. Kiran, our next question comes in from Brian. Brian is the parent to two children, an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old. And Brian's question is, what will you advise for kids on the spectrum, where you can't call it discipline per se, when things are beyond control of the child, or when a child is non-verbal and is unable to comprehend? It's sometimes difficult to handle despite having visual schedules, etc. This is for children who are both 11 years old and 13 years old and are on the spectrum. So, Kiran, do you have any advice for them?
Uh, Brian, I'm sorry, I may not directly be able to address this question, because when we say on spectrum, actually it's very big, right? So, what is the level of development of the child? I can just say what is generic here. What is generic here is, if we can go at the speed of the child, instead of expecting the child to, to be always feeling that I have to catch up. If we can go at the speed of what did you achieve a few days back and how you are doing today, if we can go like that, that will do more justice to the child. And of course, the more trust me, no matter what is the degree of the child, nobody really needs a pity here. The child needs support. The child needs confidence of the parent, that, okay, if I'm not doing it today, right, I'm working towards it. I may be able to do it, I may not be able to do it, but I'm working towards it. So go a little at the pace, recognize what is the pace, The pace of both your children could be very different, right? And also, again, as I said, that in some families, one child is on the spectrum, the other child is going to the regular curriculum. In that case also, sometimes what happens, when the concentration and attention of the parent goes more towards the first child, then the second child either starts feeling overprotective of the first child. Oh, you have not taken your medicines. Oh, you have not done this, let me help it. Or becomes pseudo parent to the child, or goes to the other side and becomes too aggressive because the child feels that I'm not getting attention. So either ways, both the children would need your attention, and you would have to slow down and bring down your expectations a bit. Having said that, you can still have a very high level of routine for the children, and more which is self-initiation, because both 11 and 13, right, if they can feel more enabled and empowered, that yes, I can do it. Let them change the style. Let them change how to do it. Just guide them in a way that they can easily do it, right? They may be able to figure out newer ways to solve the same problem. Yeah. Thank you.
Right, Kiran. Kiran, our next question comes in from Dhruti, who is the parent to two children, an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. Dhruti says, my daughters only follow the routine when I yell, and they can't do it on their own. How do I keep them aware of the responsibility of their own work?
Understand is that the children are only doing yelled at.
That's right. She says they only follow their routine when they are, yelled at and shouted at, and otherwise they don't. So how can she inspire them to follow the routine on their own, and be aware of their own responsibilities?
Right. Okay. So, first thing we have to understand is that the routine in any case is broken in today's scenario. Right. And being at home, except some of the children in some households are allowed to go outdoors now, right, for a few hours. But apart from that, if we expect that the child is in a self-driven mode, especially such young child, 6 and 8 years, is going to be in a self-driven, mechanized mode of following, okay, now this, now this, now this, it's not going to happen that way. We got to be a little, more forgiving for that. In fact, we can actually use this opportunity more to understand the children better. So yelling, the only thing which can happen, Jharna, out here is that you may notice that you could be, at the end of the day, be suffering from a sore throat. Right? And you may actually have a brain fog that, oh my goodness. So first thing is that you got to bring your, the reaction mode down. Take a deep breath when you notice that after saying 3 times, also the child has not finished the milk and the milk is still on the table and the child is reading the book or is playing on the video game or whatever is the case. Then you can actually go close to the child, because yelling, the child may suddenly get up taking the phone because the child doesn't really want you to take the thing away and would mechanically go and kind of maybe finish it when you yelled it. But how long? How many times could you do that? So maybe you can design it in such a manner that you leave a little flexibility to the child, but at the same time you give information to the child. Right? The more information we give to the child, the more is the acceptability of the rules. So if you say, you know what, this milk cannot lie on the table like that, right? There can be flies and this thing. So I really want your help. You have to finish it right away. So shall I give the milk, bring it to you where you are, or you are coming here? Give 2 options to the child. And both the options needs to be in the direction of the work that you want it to be done. Right? Not in terms of that, okay, you're finishing it or you're not finishing it. At max, if the child completely doesn't do it, then it's like, okay, fine. Sometimes you have to kind of just give up, right? Yeah. It's too much if you say as a parent that I have to ensure that this is done. So you just say, all right, so I'm taking this milk away because I can't see it going sour. So I'm going to put it in fridge. When you're feeling hungry, please take it from there. Somewhere you have to kind of give it. You can't, always expect and take such a big responsibility. It's a different human being, Jharna, right?
Right.
We can't 100% control everything. Somewhere you
Right.
have to know where I have to give in, where I have to just kind of say, all right, I'm done with it. I've tried enough. I'm keeping it back in for
Right.
today. Tomorrow, again, get the same expectations and start it all over again.
Right. Set your own limits as a parent, I guess. Our next question comes in from Deepa, who is the parent to two children again. Deepa has a 11-year-old elder child, and her younger one is 2 years, 7 months. So there's an age gap between both children. And Deepa says, my 2.5-year-old daughter always throws toys and things and doesn't tidy up her toys, and then blames her elder sister, who is 11 years old, saying it's all done by Didi and it's not done by me. So, any advice for Deepa on how to deal with her younger child?
All right, throwing toys.
Yes.
Okay. Um, Deepa, what happens in toddlerhood is that, this is a new world for the child. Okay. And a lot of things that they do, they're observing it. They're observing either the way the child, the toy or whatever they are throwing rolls, or the way when one thing is thrown, it makes a different noise. Another thing is thrown, it makes a different noise, or the way people react around. Everything is fun, right? At 2 years, 7 months of age. So, but you can still have some rules around it. The rules always start, Deepa, from what is the problem? Why is this action bothering me? Is it I'm worried about the TV in the living room? That if the child is throwing the toys, then it's going to, hit the TV? Is it that I'm worried about that the toy will break? Or if it's not the toy, maybe your child had picked up the phone, right? Is it that the toy may hurt someone? So based on what is it that you truly feel, because throwing is not a problem. If you ask me for a 2 year 7 month old, they have to experiment. This is science, right? And they're observant. So they have to experiment. They have to throwing will not be restricted to only the balls and in the outside. They have to do it. But we have to see what is the problem here. So based on the problem, that is, if it is a living room, you just have to say, okay, dear, I'm afraid, giving information, what I said before. I'm afraid, oh, there's a TV here. So I'll help you to take you into the play room, and you nicely take your can you lift your toys, wrap it up? Or she lifts two toys in her hands. You are carrying your child to the playroom, and you say, you know what, you can throw your toys here now, right? In fact, that is one, if it's a living room. So the alternative, Jharna, that we talked about, especially for younger children, it works beautifully. No, why no? What is the alternative? The same thing which we talked about, spitting as well. All right, you can take it here, you can do it here. If the challenge is towards the other child, then it's like, oh, you know what? We don't throw on others, we throw on the wall. So what I'm going to do is always tell your child what you're going to do. Don't just kind of pick them up. It kind of makes the transition easy for them. They will not try to struggle to pinch you, bite you and those things, right? Because at the end of the day, we are all, Deepa, animals. We are all, especially in the younger age, going to use all the tools which an animal has, okay, when we feel threatened. So when you're picking up your child, pick up from the behind, so the limbs are away. You can't let your child hit you, right? So you're telling the child, and you're saying, you know what, this toy is hurting your sister. We can't throw there, but so I'm going to turn you. You throw it at the wall. You're giving alternative here. And if the toy breaks, great. You are not in a hurry to replace it. Let the child kind of, you know, uh, figure it out, the consequences of it. Oh, it broke. Oh, yeah, it broke. Let's try to fix it. Go through the whole process of it. Don't be in a hurry to, oh, my car broke. Please, I want another one, right? These are small little logical, natural consequences. Oh, yeah, it broke. We throw, it breaks, right? Make it slow. Thank you.
Thanks, Kiran. If you've joined this Parentune Live in between, I recommend you to go to the Parentune app and watch the entire discussion from the start on how to inculcate discipline in your child. You can also subscribe to the Parentune app and social handles for constant updates on our interesting lives and workshops. Kiran, before we conclude today, could you just tell us, as a parent, what are the 3 not to do things when it comes to disciplining your child, things that you should avoid?
Okay. This is a little age specific, but I will just say in general, right? Shouting in a manner where you can feel that it is coming as a reaction and not really like, oh no, we don't do it. This wouldn't be a shouting, but shouting in a sarcastic manner and in a manner where you know that it's your vent, right? That should be avoided because the child is not born to make you feel happy, right? The child is born to ensure that our human species keep going ahead, right? So yelling for a vent on the child, not going to help. We should avoid it. Any kind of punishments which touch upon the core of the child, the safety, the love. If the child still comes to you and wants to hug you, even if the child did not finish the homework, please reciprocate. The connection, the safety that you give to your child today could help tomorrow for the child to finish it, right? Make the child feel safe no matter what. And the third thing is, if you have to ask me, for a little older child, don't snatch from the hands. Even if it's a mobile, the child has been going for a long time, just offer them, you know what, half an hour is over, could you please hand it over to me? Right? Leave it to the child to take the decision of giving it to you. That trend, when it is set, easier for the child, easier for you. Yeah, the child will see himself or herself taking decisions, right? So that's about it. Yeah. Thank you.
Putting the control back into the child's hand. Thank you, Kiran, for all your expert advice today. We will be back tomorrow with another Parentune Live. कल हमारे साथ होंगे न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट मृणाल जामदार, जो हमें बताएंगे कि कौन सी जड़ी बूटी बच्चे की सेहत के लिए फायदेमंद हो सकती है. Take good care and see you all tomorrow.
Thank you.